Staff Works Explained. If you're here for the first time, please consider subscribing to this channel. In this video, we'll be talking about the standard gauge railway extension from Suswa to Malaba, where it really stands and why it looks the way it does and whether it makes sense. Kenya's SGR was sold to the public as a spine that would carry the country's economic into the future. Nearly a decade after the first train left Mombasa, that spine still ends abruptly at Suswa in the middle of Rift Valley. Beyond that point, toward Kisumu and Ugandan border, the railway exists largely on paper. The government now says construction of the western extension was set to begin in January 2026. We are now past that. That announcement has raised expectation once again. But to understand whether this project is finally moving or simply being recycled politically, we need to be very clear about where the project actually is, why it looks the way it does, and why it stops where it stopped, and what it will cost, and what it means for Kenya's transport system. This is not just an engineering story alone. It's a story of planning decisions, financing failures, regional politics, as well as unresolved question about value for money. Where the project currently stands. As of early 2026, the SGR extension from Suswa or Naivasha to Kisumu and onward to Malaba has not entered full construction. What has happened is the route alignment has been defined at a high level. Stakeholder consultation has begun, conducted in counties along the corridor, particularly in Narok, Bomet, Kericho, Nyamira, Kisumu, and Busia. Environmental and social impact assessment are either completed or in late review stages. For some sections, preliminary land identification has been done, but large-scale land acquisition and compensation has not yet started. No contractor is mobilized on the site, and no track laying and earthworks have commenced. From a project management standpoint, this places the project firmly in the pre-implementation stage. This is the stage where designs are defined or refined, risks are assessed, financing is structured, and approval are secured. It is not yet execution. As of January 2026, this is the date that refers to a targeted start of construction and not an achieved milestone. Let's now talk about the structure of the project. The western extension is divided into two main sections. There is phase 2B, which is from Naivasha or Suswa to Kisumu, approximately 260 to 270 kilometers. Then there is phase 2C from Kisumu to Malaba, approximately 100 to 110 kilometers. This line is designed as a standard gauge, meaning it uses a wider track than the old meter gauge railway. This allows for heavier freight loads, higher speeds, and longer trains, at least in theory. A branch line to Kisumu Port is included, intended to integrate rail transport with Lake Victoria shipping. The total projected cost for the full extension is in the region of 640 to 650 Kenya shillings, or roughly 5 billion US dollars. Why the route does not follow the old meter gauge railway? One of the most controversial decisions in the choice of this SGR is not to follow the existing MGR corridor. The official explanation is technical. Meter gauge railway alignment has tighter curves, steep gradients, as well as urban encroachment. It was built over a century ago for lighter trains and slower speeds. Converting it into SGR would require massive reconstruction, prolonged shutdowns, as well as still results in suboptimal performance. That explanation is partly true. However, the critical issue is that abandoned old corridor forces the government to acquire an entirely new land, pay fresh compensation, as well as build new bridges, tunnels, and earthworks, duplicate infrastructure that already exist. From a cost-benefit perspective, this is where serious questions arise. Many countries modernize railway by increasing or incrementally upgrading existing corridor, not by building parallel systems. Kenya chose the most capital-intensive option. Why the SGR stopped at Suswa? Kenya SGR did not stop at Suswa by design. It stops there because the financing collapsed. Earlier sections, Mombasa to Nairobi and then Mombasa or Nairobi to Naivasha, were funded largely by loans from China Exim Bank. By the time the railway reached Naivasha, China made it clear that it would not finance the next phase unless Uganda committed to building its connecting line at the same time. Uganda did not commit. Without the regional guarantee, the lender saw insufficient freight volumes to justify the investment, and as a result, there was no financial close. Contractors were not extended, and the project stalled. This was not a technical failure, it was a planning and coordination failure. Why the project has been delayed for years? Several factors explain the long delay. One, there is financing gap. Kenya has struggled to find affordable funding. The Railway Development Levy raises money, but not nearly enough to fund the construction at the required stage. Then there is debt pressure. After the cost of the earlier SGR phases, Kenya's debt profile became a concern. New borrowing faced political and economic resistance. Then there is an unclear demand. Even the existing SGR has struggled to utilize cargo. I mean, with this utilization, cargo volumes have not consistently met projections, weakening the case for expansion. Then there is land and compensation risk, where the Western Corridor passes through densely settled and agricultural productive areas. Compensation disputes are inevitable and expensive. Then there is a changing project models, where the government has shifted toward a public-private partnership model, where the state builds the track, but private operators supply locomotives and run services. This adds to complexity and delay negotiations. What are the claimed benefits so far, and what is the reality? There are some argument that the extension will reduce transport costs for cargo to Western Kenya and neighboring countries, and this is so. There will be shift for freight from roads to the rail, and that has its own benefits. Lower road maintenance costs and accidents. There will be strengthening of Kenya's roles as a regional logistics hubs. These benefits are theoretical or are theoretically valid. Rail is a more efficient way of transport for bulk freight over long distances, but the benefits will only materialize if the pricing model is competitive, service is reliable, and also volumes are guaranteed. So far, SGR performance does not inspire confidence on these fronts. Negative impacts and risk. The risks are substantial. We have high capital cost with uncertain returns, long payback period, which is likely to be extended for decades. Risk of underutilization as seen in earlier phases. Opportunity cost, where scarce public funds are locked into one project, and then displacement of communities and disruption of livelihood along the corridor. From a project management lens, this is a high risk, high cost project with weak demand certainty. Let's now compare it with the Tanzania SGR, where Tanzania SGR program has taken a different approach. It is state funded in phases, built to connect multiple centers, not just one corridor, and is integrated more deliberately with the national development priorities. Kenya SGR, by contrast, is heavily corridor focused and dependent on regional follow through that has not materialized as expected. Let's now look at road transport, and more so the construction of Rironi Mau Summit and the effect it will have on this SGR. At the same time, Kenya is expanding its road network, including Rironi Mau Summit Highway. Roads remain more flexible and currently dominate freight movement. Unless rail becomes cheaper, faster, and more predictable, trucks will continue to win, regardless of how much rail infrastructure is built. In conclusion, we can say that the extension of the SGR from Suswa to Malaba is not a completed project. It is not even a construction project yet. It is a project in preparation, burdened by past planning decisions, financing challenges, and an unresolved question about value for money. As at January 2026, which was the commencement date, this is an ambition and not a guarantee. From a strategic standpoint, modern rail makes sense. From an extension standpoint, Kenya's SGR expansion remains a cautionary tale of how infrastructure vision can have to face financial, institutional, and regional realities. Whether this extension finally moves beyond plans will depend not on announcement but on funding, demand, disciplined project management, areas where the SGR record has so far has had mixed results at the best. So thank you for reaching this far. If it's your first time here, please consider subscribing to this channel. Also hit the notification bell so that whenever you upload a new video, you are notified. You can also share, comment and like. Thank you.